Designer Notes, Subject 117. Rolex is at the top of the world in many ways. It got there through its ingenious marketing strategy and became even more popular through its supporters in the trading market. Now, markets notwithstanding, Rolex design is not without its missteps. Here are 6 design mistakes from your favorite current references in Rolex lineups that keeps us designers awake at night. Like, comment, and subscribe for content you'd like to see next. Follow us at Instagram at designatelieraruba for behind-the-scenes content. Email us at designatelieraruba@gmail.com. Mistake number 1. The most recent design complaint is the inappropriate use of materials. The new Explorer's size revisits is really not such a big deal since this watch size has been in production for many ages. But the gold and steel construction doesn't really make functional sense. Product design leans heavily on how the product is used. After all, everything has a use, whether it is functional or decorative. The Explorer is designed to be a tool, rugged and could take a beating, simple and straightforward. Adding gold not only feels like a misplaced idea and is quite frankly not needed. Long gone are the days when gold is not accessible to the public, the very principle that brought us a two-tone watch. So why should it make a comeback on the Explorer? Mistake number 2. Alignment, alignment, alignment. Vertical alignment on a watch dial is as well appreciated and even required as grilling your meat as medium or medium rare. Since a vast majority of watches would religiously place the brand at the 12 o'clock position, designers often balance this out with a design element at the 6 o'clock mark. Rolex, for the most part, follows this mantra accordingly, but that date window at 3 o'clock position has become too iconic for it to be touched by any well-paid designer tasked to draw the next reference model. But the Rolex Cellini's having such a massively disproportionate and misaligned date subdial at this position is just too jarring. You now have two dial elements vying for your attention while leaving a big negative space to occupy the 7 and 8 marker areas. I'll stick to my Cellini no dates for now, thank you very much. Mistake number 3. One of Rolex's most successful and often remarked most beautiful models is the GMT Master 2. This model, however, breaks design's fundamental laws: color harmony. Now, before you call fire and sulfur over the cursed ground I'm standing on, hear me out. In color theories, it is very rare that red and blue are used to create a harmonious visual appeal. Typically, one of them is used as the base and the other as an accent or a shade off. The GMT Master 2's bezel takes up the same surface area to the point that you can call this either a red or blue watch. This middling approach is the enemy of identity. But you know what? Despite committing such a brazen sin, the GMT Master 2 endears itself with watch enthusiasts. Mistake number 4. Excessive words. Great design requires little explanation. The Rolex Submariner has been a champion of iconography with its distinct bezel and case design. The dial is also equally recognizable with its now famous Mercedes hands and lume-filled indices. The fans of the Submariner are vocal enough to tell you every feature. Just give them time or ask the smallest of questions and you'll see what we mean. But do you really need your Submariner to do that for you? On the dial, there's so much of the text that's being printed to the detriment of the design. At the 6 o'clock position, it's a literal paragraph of exposition about how accurate and ocean-worthy this hunk of steel is. As a designer, I'm just happy that they stopped short of telling us about the parachrome hairsprings, Cerachrome bezel, and trip-lock technology. Given my way, a reduced amount of text would be in order, just enough to identify the watch and give its due decoration. or just get an older sub. Mistake number 5. Typography and identity go hand in hand in design. This is why, a general rule in graphics and products design, 2 to 3 font types are enough. Having more than this rarely, if ever, translates to a cohesive identity. Enter the Yachtmaster 2. Let's try and count how many font types this dial has. We can actually count 4 different fonts, and not counting the weight variations for the numerals. The paragraph of text contributes heavily with this, but the different layers of numbers is just a designer's nightmare. Many can try to justify what Rolex did here, but this timepiece, as being one of the less desired Rolexes, says a lot about its text and font situation. Mistake number 6. I've rambled about negative space as a part of good design, and Rolex, for the most part, knows how to make use of this. However, the Cosmograph or Daytona seems to have zoomed past this detail. To be fair, the Daytona's astronomical rise in popularity is mainly because of non-design related ideals. Design-wise, the focus of all the design elements should be the positive space it occupies. The negative space in between provides a visual rest and helps define the borders of the positive space. On other Rolex models, this is used masterfully. It creates invisible lines and helps to highlight the elements on the dial. This is not present on the Daytona, making it busier looking than it actually is. Don't get me wrong, there are some references within the Daytona line that uses negative space cleverly, especially on the bezel side. But for the most part, it could have been executed better. Product and visual design are inherently intuitive sciences that's borderline not science at all. But there are some sense and reason to it. Principles that somewhat make sense. And when replicated, it somewhat achieves the same results. We see this not just on watches, but also in nature all around us. It was said that we were created in the image of a grand designer, so all of us know a great design when we see one. Sometimes though, if we just think long and hard enough, some of the great watches today are really not perfect by design. Some like me may be kept awake at night to question why these work. But to many, it's the certain irrational beauty that makes them sleep happily that they own one.